Hey everyone, this is Modest Millions, and today I'm going to be covering my specific strategies that I'll be using to get myself making millions quick with Shadowlands launch. This guide is going to give you guys specific details based on low and high pop servers and how you can tweak your setup to optimize your gold, so let's go. So first off, we have general setup of your main and alts, then specific professions to focus on early, professions general overview, what you should not be doing in the beginning, first weeks to couple of months of Shadowlands, and finally my thoughts on gold making and gold making ideas going on, so let's go. Alright, so first off, we have general main setup and alt setups. So personally, I'm going to be running a druid as my main this time around. Traveling in the Maw looks rough, and with Blizzard nerfing literally everything that enhances movement speed except for the Worgen and druid travel forms, this will be the best way for you to get around for some time. I'm also going to be running herbalism and mining on my main. If you haven't checked out my previous videos, I'll link it here, but basically you truly want to run a dual gathering setup through first because of the changes with multi-boxing. I'm going to be doing this so I can either stockpile on herbs and ore or flip for some absolutely nasty profits on the AH, and I recommend that you feel out your market before you do either of these. Most likely on a high pop server, you're going to be better off and make better profits if you sell your herbs off early, because a lot of crafters will simply pay for not having to farm them out. While on your lower pop servers, you'll probably benefit from holding on to these and then leveling your alchemist first. Now, I'm also going to be running mining first, and this is mainly because ore is always an amazing item to sell raw on the AH during the beginning of an expansion. This is because with herbs, the only people buying those are people that are going to be flipping the items or using them for alchemy. On the other hand, with ore, you have people flipping them, jewel crafters, blacksmiths, and engineers buying the ore. So on most servers, you'll want dual gathering, keep the herbs to level your alchemist, or sell them off if it makes you more profits. And then if you don't have an alchemist, great, just sell the herbs and the ore and absolutely make bank. Now, in addition to dual gathering, there is one more thing that a lot of people forget about doing early on in an expansion, which I truly believe is going to be a must for Shadowlands, and that is making sure that you level up your fishing and cooking. I know a lot of people overlook this, but with the Bear Tartare kinda 2.0 with fried bonefish being released with Shadowlands, this is 100% something that you need to keep up with. With all the nerfs to movement speed that have happened over the past 2 days, really, this food is going to be another gold-making essential in this expansion. Now, for the reasons behind doing dual gathering. First is kind of multi-layered. Essentially, your alchemist alt doesn't need to be leveled right off the bat, so that's why I'm picking a dual gatherer first. You can get the Shadowlands professions and just sit in the main town and craft. As a dual gatherer, you're out in the zones, and this needs to be your best geared character at first because you can't fly yet. And with having plenty of enemies, you will have to fight. So having a low-leveled or low-geared toon in the beginning with your farming dual gathering will dramatically hurt your profits. Alright, so now on to more specific professions that I think you need to focus on early. Now, of course, you can probably tell my main crafting profession to focus on is going to be alchemy. This is always a moneymaker in most all points during the expansion, but especially early on. Work on getting your rep with the factions early and as best as you can to stay ahead of the game with getting crafting tiers. My second favorite profession for this is tailoring. I personally use my profits from alchemy and dual gathering in the expansion to funnel into buying cloth for my bags for tailoring. This is also a very, very solid way to make some serious gold. So for most every low pops or high pop server, I recommend doing dual gathering first, then followed by preferably one alt that has alchemy and tailoring. If you have this during the first couple of months after release, I guarantee that you will make serious profits no matter how much time you have to invest into the game and no matter what server you're playing on. Now, on to the rest of the professions. So after this, there are going to be a lot of different ways that you can go about this. I would start bringing all the other alts that you have into Shadowlands and just bring the rest of the professions with them. Of course, in a perfect world, I would say have one of each profession in Shadowlands content as quickly as possible. but I understand that that's unrealistic for a lot of you. So if you're doing the bare minimum following this guide, then get your Dual Gatherer and your Alchemist Tailorer into Shadowlands. If you're looking to do more, then I would suggest bringing in and enchanting an inscription. These professions can print gold on most servers. If you start off making your own enchants and contracts, you'll be much better off on your server. I would start after that with a jewel crafter and engineers, because jewel crafting can make the speed gems, and it looks like engineers are going to have something nice with the wormhole generators. If you haven't really already kind of picked up on the theme of this gold making guide, early on is just really a sheer numbers game, getting to the higher tiers of crafting so that your gold invested is less than the competition, so that you can sell for slightly cheaper and be more competitive. Alright, so now a big part of the guide that I've really been wanting to touch on is things that you should not be doing during the first couple of weeks to months of the expansion. And let me preface this with, these are things that should not be done in the beginning of the expansion unless you have fully optimized everything else that I have listed above. If you've already optimized everything above, then you can still do these and you're perfectly fine. So first off, old dungeons and open world farms. If you're following any of my old guides and transmog farms, I highly suggest that you do not do this during the beginning of Shadowlands. Of course, the hype is going to be in Shadowlands, and that's going to dramatically hurt the transmog market for months because people are not going to be searching for those old transmogs as much. The second point is old world raw gold farming. I know that raw gold farming gained huge popularity over the past 6 to 7 months in BFA, but a lot of these have been nerfed, and even the ones that are still viable will not be able to compete with the gold that you could be making spending that time and effort in Shadowlands content. And finally is kind of more of a pet peeve of mine, and that is leveling your character in Shadowlands without working toward your professions at the same time. This is one that I see a lot of people do, and you're just simply wasting your time. By the time you hit high-end content and your professions are all still at the beginning, it'll take you some time to catch back up and get used to the profession. So then by that time, others on your server already have higher tiers of crafting and have already touched into these markets and have a major advantage over you. So some final thoughts on gold making for Shadowlands right at launch. I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis on crafting items that boost your movement speed due to all the nerfs that have been put into movement speed in the Maw and other places. And I truly think that this is also going to include older craftable items that you can use relics on to boost them and help make movement speed sets for twinks. I think this is an area of gold making that hasn't really been researched enough yet to make any claims definitively, but they will become a bigger thing as the expansion goes on. So this time around in Shadowlands, I'm trying to be better about touching all the markets that I can. Going into BFA, I didn't have all this set up as well as I would have liked to. I had most of the same setup that I'm telling you to do now, except minus the inscription and engineering, and I also really didn't have a big foothold in my alchemist. So I feel like at the beginning of the expansion, I missed out a lot on these markets, myself personally on my servers, so I'm wanting to make sure that you guys hit these now. So guys, these are my suggestions and what I'm going to be doing tomorrow when Shadowlands launches. We'll be streaming later on in the day, more than likely around 8 p.m. my time, so probably streaming throughout the night and then even some early morning streams. So please, if you haven't already, go follow me on Twitch, join our Discord, and I will see you guys in the next video.